Welcome to our explainer tonight. Now, in light of the global reactions that have been stirred by US President Donald Trump, the word tariff has been on everyone's mind. So tonight on The Explainer, we break down tariffs. What are they? How do they work? And eventually, how will the 10% tariff imposed on Kenya affect the economy and the people? Well, let's start with a quick one, easy one, which is that tariffs are taxes imposed on goods and services imported from other countries. Now, we shall illustrate here that the US is not the only country that has imposed them. Kenya and indeed the East African Community and even COMESA impose their own tariffs as well. So just what do tariffs do? Well, a country can impose tariffs to achieve either one of the following. First, it is simply to raise money. They serve as a source of income for governments. But most importantly, tariffs are also used to shield domestic industries from foreign competition, particularly in developing economies. Now, it is deployed as a protectionist mechanism. It is meant to encourage citizens' consumption of domestically produced goods and services. In this instance, there is usually a time frame given for the tariffs, during which the country will make sure that it enhances its local capacity to produce the said goods and services that are attracting the tariffs. So, for instance, if we're talking about sugar, the country would increase cane production by farmers by giving them the inputs required. For example, growing cane with higher sucrose content, increasing the acreage of farmers who are growing the crop. And also, the government might want to address issues that hinder the production of sugar in the mills, like maybe cost of electricity or providing them with modern equipment. Now, after this, it would be deemed that the country has increased its capacity to produce more and better quality, not only for local consumption, but for export as well. And then the tariffs would then be lifted. So basically, tariffs support domestic producers and therefore support indigenous industries and can be used to protect local consumers from products that may contain harmful substances. Importantly, now they can also be used to safeguard domestic industries that are considered to be of national importance or hold national strategic value. Now let's talk about the third reason for tariffs, and that would be for political negotiation purposes. Quid pro quo, if you like. Applying pressure to a foreign government by imposing a tariff on their goods as part of a trade negotiation or even for political purposes. Now, the focus lately has been on the US. But folks, every country and even regional body imposes its own tariffs for its own reasons. Here is an example. The East African Community has instituted a unified graduated duty structure for imports entering the East African region. The aim is to incentivize value addition within East Africa by protecting local production. Now, it is a four-band structure, as you can see here on the screen, starting with 0% for raw materials and capital goods, which is to allow countries in the bloc to import raw materials cheaply. Now, there's also a 10% tariff that is imposed on intermediate products that are not available within the EAC. The third band is that there is a 25% tariff that is imposed on finished products that have no local equivalence. And to protect goods that are originating from the region, a 35% tariff is imposed on finished products that are available within the economic bloc. Now, those that attract that 35% are dairy and meat products, cereals, cotton and textiles, iron and steel, edible oils, and even beverages and spirits. Now, the EAC, of course, reviews these tariffs every 5 years, and based on prevailing circumstances, they may change or they may stay the same. Now that we're done with that example, let's go back to the matter at hand, which is the US tariffs. Now, Kenya's exports to the country will now attract a tariff of 10%. This, according to the US, is a reciprocal or a reciprocation of a 50% tariff that Kenya imposes on corn imports, coupled with what the US has termed as, quote, burdensome regulatory requirements. Now, how does that affect our trade? Let's take a look at the numbers. Kenya exports to our fifth biggest trading partner were valued at 72.96 billion shillings in the year 2024. Now, this was an increase of slightly over 20% from the previous year, that is 2023. Now, Kenya exports to the world's largest economy include tea, horticulture, apparel and clothing, coffee, and also increasingly macadamia, although this has had a couple of issues last year. Now, remember, some of these exports benefit from the tax and quota-free trade deal under AGOA. Remember that? The African Growth and Opportunities Act. These are all the tariffs that are taking place in the country. Now, the main question is how this affects Kenya's economy, our revenue, and jobs. And for that, my conversation here on The Explainer.